Welcome to Arcane the Brewcast. I'm Jamie, your Arcane brewer.
And I'm Jake, your Arcane engineer.
Thank you to Mom Rock for use of their song Conversation in the intro. Ah, spring. That beautiful time of year when one's fancies turn to thoughts of Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Look, sometimes a video game comes out and it scuttles your productivity. We've all been there, right? When I start playing a new video game, I tend to focus in on it to the exclusion of everything else. Everything else except making wine. So soon enough, I got to thinking, what kind of wine could Link brew? And he's got some great options. There's a lot of fruit in this game. There are apples, wild berries, vault fruit, dazzle fruit, fire fruit. Some of these things are easier to source than others, but there's no shortage of real-world ingredients. Link also has access to honey and wheat, so he could even make mead or beer. But we brew those all the time, so let's make something we haven't made before. Sundelion Wine. Sundelions are bright yellow flowers that mostly grow on sky islands and other points of high altitude. They soak up sunlight, which apparently imbues them with actual sunny magic, which can be used to combat gloom. Specifically, cooking with Sundelions will result in food having the sunny property, which will restore, but not automatically heal, parts removed by gloom damage. We're going to make Sundelion wine, and we're going to do it without visiting any sky islands. But I can't just buy Sundelions. I'm going to have to go out and forage them. Sundelions look a lot like, but are not quite identical to, dandelions, so we're going to use those to make our sunny elixir. Let's talk about dandelions for a minute. Dandelion comes from the French Dandelion, meaning lion's teeth. In scientific classification, the dandelion genus is called Taraxacum, from Arabic meaning bitter herb. Dandelions are also edible. The leaves, roots, and petals can be eaten in a salad and have a mildly bitter flavor comparable to mustard greens. The roots can be baked and ground up to make a coffee substitute, similar to chicory. The stem is also edible, but is much more bitter. We're only going to use the petals for this, for which we will need a great deal of dandelions. First we visit Cricket Field, a park not too far from home. Once we've cleaned them out of dandelions, we check all the other parks relatively near our home. We visit churches, community college, and a neighborhood baseball field before we find enough flowers.
Hold up, there's something about that rock.
While we forage for our dandelions, we encountered the local wildlife. They seemed harmless, and we didn't have any arrows, so we let them be. Once we're done foraging, we consolidate our loot. I'm rinsing these dandelions in sanitizer, a step I recommend you skip. I was nervous about pesticides and wanted to give the flowers a rinse and neutralize any wild yeast in one go. But rinsing the flowers, even after they've been picked, will cause them to close up. This is a problem, because it makes it a lot more difficult to trim the green leaves off the blossoms. I made things a lot harder on myself by rinsing. The trade-off is that I'll be able to put the dandelions right into the wine instead of making a tea with them, but trust me, I should have done things in a different order. We're removing the green parts because they contain a milky latex sap that contributes bitterness. A little is supposedly okay, but you want to minimize them as much as possible. Trimming dandelions is a long, frustrating process, and it's going to take hours and hours of trimming to get them into the condition we need them in. The petals take up so little space that it barely looks like you're making any progress at all. By the end of the process, I have little affection left for these little yellow cigarette butts. Most welcome to eat my ass. All of those dandelions got me just a quart of petals, barely enough to make 3 quarts of wine. Dandelions contribute very little sugar on their own, so you have to add some in order to make wine with them. Pretty much all dandelion wine recipes also call for citrus peel, and it sounds like a little acidity would make a better wine, but making a great wine isn't my highest priority with this batch. Those dandelions were a lot of work, and as far as I know they don't contribute sugar. So what exactly do they contribute? Some sources say bitterness, but that mostly comes from the green leaves. Others compare it to a lightly floral mead, which is why I'm not adding any honey, just sugar. I don't want anything that can overpower the dandelions, because I really want to taste what they on their own bring to a wine. If you do want to add any orange or lemon peel, make sure to peel it off the fruit very thinly so as to avoid including any of the bitter pith underneath. I've seen recommendations ranging from 3 tablespoons of orange peel to all the zest and juice from 3 oranges and 3 lemons. A lot of recipes call for making a tea with the petals, but since that can supposedly result in the loss of some of the more delicate, volatile flavor compounds, we're going to simply put the petals into the carboy to cold steep over time. The trade-off to this method is that it will result in more loss, is substantially messier, and does carry a slight risk of infection if the flowers are not properly sanitized. But we already dealt with that, so accepting those risks, we proceed. I'm pitching 1 packet of D47 wine yeast. Because the petals rise up to the top of the carboy, it's not enough for me to just pitch the yeast on top. I stir it up with this sanitized metal chopstick to make sure the yeast is fully immersed in the liquid. The fermentation is pretty uneventful, other than the expected loss of volume due to being drastically overfilled. This is going to take a long time though. I'm going to leave it on the flowers for however long it takes to completely clarify, which will be at least months and potentially over a year. Then I'm gonna bottle it. Supposedly it takes a few years for Dandelion wine to get really good. A lot of recipes I found describing Dandelion wine seem to strongly romanticize it, making it difficult to really get a sense for what it's meant to taste like. I've heard it described as liquid essence of sunlight, or in the words of Ray Bradbury, summer cotton stoppered. Great, sounds delicious. We're going to have to wait a long time to try some for ourselves. I'll probably end up starting the next batch before this one reaches its full potential. But next time, I'm going to have someone else trim the flowers while I chill and play Zelda. So, since that won't be ready for a while, we're going to... Jake, are you playing Zelda right now while we're recording?
No.
Okay. So, since the wine won't be ready for a while, we're just going to have to be patient and follow up in the future. I still don't really know what dandelions taste like. If we return to Hyrule, I wouldn't mind doing a fruit wine like Dazzle Fruit or Volt Fruit. Dazzle Fruit is spiky and green like a soursop, and Volt Fruit kind of looks like an orange dragon fruit, so we could use those. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, sounds good.
Alright. Well, thank you to Mom Rock for the use of their song Conversation. Jake, do you wanna...
Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any ideas for something you'd like to see us brew in the future, leave them in the comments.
Yeah, there it is. Yes, yellow gold.